Thank you for listening to this episode of a Vietnam podcast. It's me, your host, Neil Mackay. Before we get started, I just want to say two massive thank yous to our partners for this episode. First of all, for many months now, it is the Seven Bridges Brewing Company. As you guys know, I absolutely love craft beer, and I love their craft beer especially. Go check out the Hai Van Haze. It's one of my favorites, named after the Hai Van Pass up in Da Nang, where they're from originally, but they now have tap rooms all over Saigon. They're award-winning craft beer. So go check out their beers at their Le Tanton location, which is in Japantown. And if you know about Japantown, it's some interesting people watching there, shall we say. So go down to the Japantown, get some pizza slices, or check out their new location on Hai Ba Chung. Also good people watching, but not quite the same. And they have locations all over Vietnam, so they are amazing. Thank you very much for supporting us. And also a massive shout out to the Rabbit Hole Irish Sports Bar. They started off in Phuong Truong, where I did probably my best ever comedy show to about 50 people there. Never ever forget that. It's an amazing location. So if you're in Phuong Truong for a holiday, make sure you check out the Rabbit Hole Irish Sports Bar. Then they opened up one on Pham Viet Chan in the Binh Tan district, where you can find me every single Tuesday night doing their quiz night. We're normally packed out, so if you want to come and get a team, make sure to message me or message the Rabbit Hole Irish Sports Bar to book a table. And they've just opened a new location on Chan Nao in An Phu with the best rooftop view over Landmark 81. So head to that location, and if you want to get a free beer, send me a message. The first 5 people to send me a message will get a free beer, thanks to Ian from the Rabbit Hole Irish Sports Bar. So thank you very much to Seven Bridges Brewing Company and the Rabbit Hole Irish Sports Bar for supporting a Vietnam podcast, and enjoy this episode. Cheers.
Why shouldn't you be beautiful and unique to look at? Vietnamese people don't have such like a crazy sexism toward gay people. I think Vietnam is going to be like a full-on gay country, just like Thailand, but less surgery.
Welcome to another episode of a Vietnam podcast with me, your host, Neil Mackay. I started this podcast in 2019 as a hobby because I was bored one day. Back then, it was called 7 Million Bikes, a Saigon podcast, and that was because I just read that there was 7.3 million motorbikes in Saigon at the time. Since then, this podcast has grown into a Vietnam podcast, which is on YouTube and all over audio like Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and I talk to people from all over the world and here in Vietnam, including my wife, including myself, to share stories about Vietnam. In this podcast episode that we're bringing to you in between season 12 and 13, which is coming up soon, I sat down with Phuong Truong, the owner of Twist Coffee Bar in Saigon, which has become a well-loved safe space for the LGBTQ plus community. We talked about how she built her business, the evolving attitudes towards LGBTQ plus rights in Vietnam, and the challenges of discussing topics like sex education in a culture where it's often considered taboo. So whether you're hearing this for the first time or revisiting this amazing conversation, I know you're going to enjoy it. So let's get started. Cheers. My guest today says she is just another lesbian in town, but she is actually the owner of Twist Coffee Bar in Tao Dien, the place for everyone, but also a safe space for LGBTQ+. A recent story in Vietnam ran with the headline, "It's not working. Sex education makes teachers and students squirm," followed up by another story about a parent finding her 12-year-old child had been watching pornography. So today with my guest, we're going to be discussing many things about Vietnam, but specifically we're going to be talking about sex education here in Vietnam. So my guest today, thank you so much for joining me, is Phuong Truong. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil, and hello to everybody. I hope you have a good day. I mean, after this, you will have a better day, I hope.
Well, so tell me more about Twist Cafe, because it's a hopping spot I see frequently. I've tried your cocktails, which are delicious. So tell us more about that. How did that start and how's it going?
So last month, it was 6 years of me having the business, but the bar, which is like roughly about 2.5 years, 3 years, because before it was a coffee shop. And the first day, it's actually me and my ex-partner, which is running a tricycle on the street, selling some coffee. And then after the first year, we moved into a space. And then since that moment on, I always have space up to this day. And after that, we have like a business breakup. So now the whole thing is mine. So I just want to turn it into something more me, more welcoming, and more LGBT friendly.
And,
And that's it.
when you started that 6 years ago, did you say?
Yeah.
So now, Saigon is a very open and welcoming place. In my opinion, I'd be interested to hear though if yours is different. But where you must have been really at the forefront of having a specifically LGBTQ plus friendly location.
Yeah, I think, well, actually it's just turned into a LGBT friendly bar about 3 years ago before I have a French partner and he's quite traditional French business partner. So we focus in coffee and serving every customer. I'm still serving every customer, but I know that I want to focus in serving my people from my community. And then 6 years ago, I think there's a few, maybe a few, but very rare businesses that have the LGBT element in it, to be
Mm.
honest.
So what did that mean then? What was the change from being traditional, as you said, to then being LGBTQ plus friendly? Like, what did that change mean for the business? How did that look like in real life?
So I think it's a really big jump. At the beginning, it was just coffee. We're just selling coffee. And then after I have the business breakup, I don't want to do the same thing like we did before. So I want to plan the business a little bit and have like arrange a bigger space. And then I try to make it like as gay as I can and as charismatic as I can. So I put on paintings and flags and making sure that I'm there every day, that people know that it is owned by the gay owner. And I think it's a big jump, like the amount of customer change, people start to drink alcohol, and I never know what, like, serving alcohol, and then you have a bar, and then you understand, and then you become an alcoholic, and then you have fun basically every day. I love my job.
That's awesome. In that
Yeah.
process, did you lose any customers? Were there any customers that were turned off, didn't come back?
No, I don't think so. If they don't come back, I think it's because maybe I fucked up with the coffee one time, two times, or my staff is being, or something like that. Or maybe they move out of the country, or it's just not their place at the beginning. I don't think the fact that I turn it into more of a gay space will make me lose any customer. I think it make me gain more customer than lose customer.
Yeah, no, I know. I can see that from how busy it is every time I go by. I mean, it's good to know that you didn't have any kind of obviously bigoted people. But that leads me into my next question, because so I've been here 6 years, and from what I can see and from what I've heard from other people, but I could be wrong, is that Saigon, and I don't know about the rest of Vietnam, and I'm sure it's very different in the country, but Saigon being a big, busy, cosmopolitan for Vietnam city, it's very welcoming of LGBTQ plus community. From one thing I've learned in the past, and I don't know if this is true though, that it's more that people almost turn a blind eye to it. So it's not that there's not maybe so much open discrimination, but there's also not maybe as much acceptance of it as a thing, if that makes sense. Someone told me this before. It's just maybe from more older traditional Vietnamese, they won't recognize that you're gay or whatnot. It's just that they're okay with it. Is that an accurate depiction, or am I completely false there?
I think it's also depend on who are we talking about, like which generation are we talking about. So if we're talking about the older generation, for example, my mom, people in their 60, 70, like really old people, maybe 40, then it's going to be a little bit different the way they look at us, but I think for in general, we got accepted way much more. And I came out very early. I came out when I was 18, I think. And then it's been like 10 years. I can see the progress of gay person like living in Saigon. And also because I have a boss, so I know a lot of people. I see a lot of people every day at different age, different generation, but mostly like people my age or a little bit younger. Even my staff, they like in their 20, like they're 21, 22 now. They're super open about it. I mean, some of them still have the kind of, oh my God, I can't turn gay. Oh my God, I was almost gay. And I was like, yeah, good for you. I mean, I think gayness turn you down, not you turn gayness down. Like laughing, you know?
What does
And
that mean though?
and
I almost went gay. What does that mean? I've been podcasting for years, and the number one tool that helped me become an award-winning podcast producer is the script. No matter whether you're a tech wizard or a beginner like me, the script can help you with everything you need to start your own podcast. If you want to start your own podcast today, download the script. The link is in the show notes. It's my number one recommendation to help you create a podcast easily, smoothly, and it has heaps of AI features that make your podcasting even better. So check it out. Let me know what you think. Let's get back to the episode.
yeah, she was like, oh my God, when the first time I break up with my first boyfriend, I was so sad. So I got on Tinder and I almost have a relationship with a woman. I almost go and see her and probably will have sex with her. And I was like, oh my God, you missed that chance. Like really? But it was fun. It was fun. They have different mindset, but very open right now. Like all of them are basically like pretty open. They actually, I mean, maybe first time they see you, they will feel like a little bit like not feeling well with their eyes, for example. Why you're going, you look like a boy. Why you're going, you look like a girl. This is so bizarre. But after a while, I think after times of interacting and talking, and they would just understand. Also, it's not their business. Usually, they're just like, yeah, it's okay. I'll just look a little bit. Vietnamese people like to look. They like to stare. We like to stare.
I've
If we see
noticed.
something that is what we think like not normal, then we would just look like looking at a white guy or
Do you,
like a black or
do you know the phrase rubbernecking?
No. What does it mean?
So this is a phrase, and I apply this, like you said, Vietnamese people love to stare. I apply this often when there's like an accident on the road, or maybe even like a fight by the side of the road or something happens. You know what it's like, Vietnamese traffic, everybody stops. Like everyone stops to look and see what's happening. So because you have to turn your neck so quickly to look, it means rubberneck, like your neck is made of rubber. So you look really quickly to see what is happening. So I've always seen this, the Vietnamese people love to rubberneck, where they stop in traffic to like see what's going on. And suddenly there's more danger because everyone stopped to see the accident rather than the accident. So I can imagine what you're saying about Vietnamese people looking. But so this is, I think it's just such an amazing thing that I've seen over the years that I've been here. I think probably perception of people from around the world, myself included, Southeast Asian country, you would just think that it would be not accepting of the LGBTQ plus community, that it would be really conservative, that it would be a kind of hidden thing, especially coming from, the US is so right wing in places, and then the UK and every Western country has very right wing, vocal, anti-gay elements. So coming here, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't see that vocal anti-LGBTQ plus kind of people, because it does just seem that people accept it. I've heard before as well, there's not really much discrimination. I've worked in businesses, companies with openly gay people. There just doesn't seem to be like an issue at all. Whereas I feel like in the UK and the US, it's probably more accepting now, but even when I was growing up, it wasn't. Am I right in that opinion, or have I got it completely wrong as well?
I think you're correct. I mean, as you can feel that we actually treat other people in a way of, oh, I don't know you much. So there's nothing I can say about you, even though you look gay. I actually a few times got teased, which is actually pretty nasty, I think, like very fucking sexist. That like there's a bunch of 2 or 3 guys just walking down the street. I was walking against their direction and they're just like, oh, what is this, boy or girl? Let's just go grab her book to see if it's a boy or a girl. And I was like, I was so pissed. But that was just like very rare. 10 years of being gay. This is like the maximum I can get. And I don't think it's about being gay. They're just being rude. If you
Yeah.
see somebody being, they just rude.
It
Because if
wouldn't
I'm
it
a
wouldn't
girl, they
matter who
would
you
act
are, they would just be rude, no matter
a
what you look
girl,
like.
like, and because they will have the same interest of grabbing my book or something like that, right? So I think it's the people you are around and at some like specific situation that you might feel sexism in Vietnam, but in general, big time, I think we're pretty chill. We're quite a very chill country that get intense sometimes, but we're pretty chill.
No, I mean, in my opinion, looking at it, that's a good description. Vietnam is pretty chill, but very intense at other times, and that you kind of see that play out quite often, where things are just kind of going along nicely, and then all of a sudden it goes crazy.
Yeah.
But no, it's good, and it's even I've noticed recently, just very, very recently, more young people, especially coming, I guess, as coming out as trans people. I was in a shop recently, and it was a guy dressed as a girl. I think I've seen girls dressed as guys. Not sure where they are on their gender journey or whatnot, but even that was just a year or two. Well, I guess we've been locked up almost for 2 years, but I mean, pre-pandemic and stuff, it wasn't something that I noticed very much. Is that something that's becoming more prominent in Vietnam as well, as it becomes more prominent around the world?
Think it's well, so first of all, like people got locked up for a really long time. And I remember the first day that I went out to District 1 with my girlfriend just to have some lunch or something like that. And we would dress up so well, which is, oh, I can't wait to put on my beautiful clothes again.
Been
No
in your
matter if it's
pajamas
boys
for
or girls.
months.
Yeah, right. And then we just dress up so well, like model, walking down the street. And like we got stopped from like a young journalist group that said, "Oh, can we take the pictures of you? And can you tell me, like, is this like uncomfortable for you now to wearing such clothes?" And I was like, "What you mean uncomfortable? Of course, if you compare to like the pajamas I wear in the last 6 months, it's pretty uncomfortable. But without and out on the street, we just want to show ourselves."
Hmm.
I think after the COVID time, people would just pay more attention to themselves and trying to show what it's been hitting like all the time. Also because of COVID and also because of you survived a pandemic, you're still alive. Why shouldn't you be beautiful and unique to look at? I think,
That's
and then it's
interesting.
going to be like it keep rising. It just will just keep
Hmm.
rising. Vietnamese people don't have such like a crazy sexism towards gay people, and wearing whatever you like will be appreciated by someone. So I think it's going to be like Vietnam is going to be like a full-on gay country, just like Thailand,
Yeah,
but
just
less
very.
surgery.
Well, we'll see where we go in 20 years' time, right? But so I mentioned that at the beginning, though. So we're talking about Saigon, which I've made this mistake about 1,000 times on this podcast and in real life, where I often say Vietnam, XYZ, talk about it. And then I realize I'm actually talking about Saigon because obviously Vietnam's a massive country, huge amount of ethnic, very diverse, almost different languages. So I always
Mm.
apply this label of Vietnam when I mean Saigon. So we have been, for once, I've specified Saigon. So everything we've talked about, but how would that play out in the countryside, for example, or more rural regions like the Mekong Delta, or, would it be the same attitudes? Because I've heard stories as well about, obviously, and you maybe have as well, of people leaving these regions because they're not going to be accepted there. So they come to Saigon,
Mm.
the big city, which makes a lot of sense. So how the general Vietnamese attitudes outside of Saigon towards the LGBTQ plus community?
I understand that. Well, I mean, Saigon is not the only place in Vietnam. And we also have the North and the Central and the South, right? And I mean, I think it also depends on how people react to new things. And because like we are in Saigon, like the first new thing, it will be like what we get to know about us, and we see it every day. So it's very easily and quickly become not a new thing anymore. But people in the rural area, in the Miền Tây, in the West, that is like the West, right? The West of Vietnam, of the South, and also like in the middle, even like in Hanoi, Hanoi is like super traditional city. It will be LGBT and the gay people will be looked different for sure because other people, they haven't seen much of us. The gay people are not, it's not that they are not many there, but they are more hidden. Also because it's strange to them, it's new to them, to the gay person themselves. And obviously it's new to everybody around in that rural area. So the way that we are being accepted is a little bit less, but I don't think that it will be way much less and way too much more intense. People in the rural area, they usually like more naive, like less aggressive, kind of,
Yeah.
We are the one who in Saigon, we are the one who have more experience, and we like actually if it comes to aggressiveness and intensity, we are the best
I
people
love that
from the
way of
city.
I love that way of looking at it. It's not, what it's like in the US, the more rural you go, I think I would be, people might think I'm an idiot for saying this, but the more rural you go, the opinions become more conservative. I was going to say the IQs get lower, but that might be a bit harsh. Maybe the IQs don't get lower, but the more rural you go in places like the States or Australia, the more conservative people come. But I like the way you put that. It's not really that people in Vietnam are necessarily more conservative. It's just they've not experienced it before. So it's just, yeah, that's a good way to look at it. So before we quickly move on to talk about another subject, quickly give us your top LGBTQ plus bars and venues to visit apart from Twist Cafe in Saigon. Go.
Since the unicorn closed, right? I would highly recommend Pride Coffee, but I think it's also like Dry Bar or something like that on Junction Dao, owned by Derek, a very gay guy, and he also married to a very weird, bizarre, and unique Vietnamese boy. His name is, they married and they opened like a bar on
Yeah,
Junction Dao Street, but I haven't been there yet. I want to. I just don't have the time to. And
yeah,
also, it's like betraying if I go to another gay bar.
betraying your
Betraying
own
my
bar.
own. That's how I feel.
No,
And that's
Derek
where
used to
I would
own Whiskey in Wales, right?
yes, that's Derek. So I would highly recommend if you looking for a gay place to go, you should go to Derek. And he's one of the coolest person I have known in
I've
Saigon.
I've not met him, but yeah, I've heard good things. I have a funny story about that. When my wife and I first arrived in Saigon, like literally 6 years ago, we were looking for a bar to go to one night, and we lived near Boy Vienne at the time, so we were around that area, and we found this bar, I guess on Google Maps or whatnot, called Whiskey in Wales,
Well,
and we like a whiskey as well, so we're like, oh, let's go check out this bar. So we went, cool place, and we're just talking. It's just me and my wife, and then she's much more observant than I am, and she's like, Neil, I think this is a gay bar. I was like, what? Nah, didn't know, paying no attention. And then she's, look, it's all really good looking guys, either on their own or with another guy. They're all really like just good looking gay guys. And I looked around the room and I was like, oh, maybe it is. Yeah, she's the only female here. And then so we Googled it, and the first website that came up was like, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a really famous website that told you gay bars around like kind of Southeast Asia, like to give safe spaces for people traveling who are LGBTQ plus to visit. And like the number one was Whiskey in Wales, and then just kept going on about how handsome the owner Derek was and how amazing it was. And so we're like, yeah, we are. I mean, so we had no problem with it, obviously. We were just like, oh yeah, we've inadvertently walked into one of the most popular gay bars in Saigon, and it was amazing
oh,
drink.
that's cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, I think it closed down.
Yeah, I think it has
Right?
now.
Whiskey, yeah. But then he opened a new Pride Cafe bar. So that's where I will go maybe probably next week.
Awesome. Well, let's move on to what I mentioned in the beginning, the most awkward topic in the world to talk about, whether you're an adult, a teenager, well, a teacher, sex education. So I mentioned in the beginning, so just last week, some headlines have come up. It's been a topic I've read about it several times in Vietnam. The headline that came out just last week was, "It's not working. Sex education makes teachers and students squirm," and saying the teachers weren't comfortable with it and the students weren't comfortable with it. So obviously, I have no experience of sex education in Vietnam. I barely had sex education when we were growing up. I mean, we had it in high school, but I mean, it was like putting condom on a banana or something like that. I don't remember it being in any great detail
Uh,
or of any use. So first of all, I guess first question is, what for you growing up, what was sex education, if it existed at all?
I think that the first official sex education I had was when I was, I think, 14 at school, and they gather like all of the students of ninth grade coming to the school hall and have one teacher woman talking about, okay, so the sex is intercourse between man and woman, and using your secret part to put in your other secret part. And I was like, oh my God. The fun fact is that I know about porn, and a full-on porn watcher since I was 8, just because I have a brother that's 6 years older than me, and he always bring porn home, and he doesn't know how to hide it in our computer. So I just turn it on and, well, watch it, not really understand much of it. But then I find that it's like a sexual action, and I think it affects me until now, that I just becoming a sexual person, which I like. No complaint. I love it. Not that I'm a sexual person. But I also find that because I have those experience from very young age, all by myself, that I learned about things like that when I was 8, I think that helped me a little bit of fighting myself and protecting myself, like when you were 8, you watch porn and then you realize that you like the woman more than the man. So that is how I think that it helps a little bit with my sexuality path. Also, like, I know that also, so those are the parts that you are not allowed to let anybody touch it, and when you are grow up enough, then you can do it. And there's a way to do it, like many different ways to intercourse, and you can see there's a protection, in the middle. I would say that you should do that to your kids and turn porno for them when they was 8. But maybe just a straightforward conversation and maybe a little bit of a demonstration on video, good enough for them. Plus, like in this time of internet, you can't stop them from reaching to whatever they want to look for, but the point of sex education is not to prevent them to have sex, but to make sure that if they have sex, it's safe for them.
Yeah, and
I think.
it must be intriguing, right? Because you like in your case, and then even in the cases I've read about online, if the teachers are then teaching them sex ed at 14, but they've maybe been accessing that kind of material online since they were 8, 9, 10, 12, it almost seems a bit redundant then, doesn't it? To then be trying to teach them about stuff that they've been watching for years or whatnot. I don't know what the solution is to it. Yeah. If you're thinking of starting your own podcast and you don't know where to begin, then get in touch with me. Not only do I make a Vietnam podcast, I make smarter podcasting, and I run 7 Million Big Podcasts, where we help people make the best podcast possible. If you want to start a podcast, book a free discovery call with me, and I can chat you through very quickly what you need to do, how I can help you, and how we can help you make the best podcast possible. So get in touch. The link is in the show notes.
I don't know. I mean, we're thinking of having kids, And I think it's different for if you teach education for a boy, and it's different if you teach the education for the girl. To have sex education with like boys and girls are different. Obviously, that both of them need to know how to protect themselves, but also they need to like their position in the sex relationship, like a sexual relationship. Okay, so I'm a boy, like what should I do? Okay, I'm a girl, what should I do? So we can both protect ourselves. And I really don't have any to like how you should do it. Because the way I learn it, you cannot learn it from that way. It's not I think it's not the most ideal way to learn about sex. But I'm happy because I have that education. I have that sex education from young age. And I know that from that moment on, I have less of a risk to make mistakes than the person who knows nothing about sex, which I have met a few. But they also find they just really late having sex in life.
So in this article, it talks about the teachers being uncomfortable with it. Should teachers be uncomfortable teaching this stuff, or do you think it's just the material they are teaching is wrong and makes it uncomfortable?
I think they feel uncomfortable because they think it's weird when you talk to someone so young and about something that has been last forever in the humankind, or like the nature. It's just a normal thing. It's hard to start the story with, and it's hard to pass the desire to feel that, oh, I really like sex. You guys should like sex too, and this is how I do this. Of course, it's not going to go that fucking way, but that there's, oh, sex is a new thing, It's just like the way they just feel uncomfortable because they make it weird to themselves, not to the student. The student is, let's say they're at a white blank space or not. Actually, they probably know enough already. So you just need to jump in and confirm if those information are right or wrong, thanks to your experience of being a teacher and being like grown, Just don't be weird about it. Like you make a joke. And sometimes you make a joke.
We'll have some clown sex educators.
It.
It's just such a difficult.
Don't be weird.
It's such a difficult topic, right? Because, it's awkward for parents, awkward for the students, awkward for the teachers. And it's funny the point you make. It's not, hey, I love having sex. This is how I do it. You should try this. Like if I remember my sex education, it's just literally, okay, this is how you do this. There's nothing about the desires or the wants or like the feelings or how to do it or anything like that. It's all just, okay, this goes in here and then don't let that stuff come out because then she's going to have a baby. And then it's just sex is like the best thing in the world, but it makes it out to be like just this robotic kind of like.
Actually, like sometimes, like the adults make sex into something so sinful, something so taboo,
Well,
and like you have to be honest to yourself that you personally and me also love sex. We would die if we don't have sex for a week or two.
Would you know?
So why did you make it have them try it themselves, but like just tell them like, oh, before you try it, you should know about this, and that's it. Everybody know. I mean, like the kids, they have their IQ, their brain is basically like fully function. They know how to do puzzle. So which piece will into which piece? You don't have to teach them like, hey, you have to put A and B. They already know that A have to go to B. But they don't know about, So what we're trying to teach them is to teach them to see the not getting pregnant thing. Or pregnancy is not as scary, I think. Also, like, I think now it's like STD is more scary to me.
Yeah, maybe. Well, an STD can be for life. I guess a kid can be for 18 years and then you can send them on their way. No, you made a good point there, which I just always forget, right? You said about it being sinful. And as we're talking there, so I'm not religious, never have been. religion has really almost played no part in my life. So I just forget about it. And you've just met them when you mentioned it, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why it's weird, because there's so many religious people in this world who've made sex this weird, awkward thing that we can't talk about, and it's taboo, and it's just I
Yeah.
forget about that religion actually has the most, probably the biggest effect on all of this, especially from the Western world. How would you say, because you have a big Catholic population here, right? Christian population, sorry, but mostly Buddhist in Vietnam, right? How has the religious aspect had an element on sexual discourse in Vietnam?
I think it's for Vietnamese, it's not really religions related to sex, to be honest, but because of Buddhism, we believe in karma. So what we believe the most is karma. If you do good thing happen to you, and
Mm.
if you do bad things happen to you. So we just based on that one thing, one rules, one biggest rule to decide what we should do to our partner. Oh, we better treat our partner nice. And if you treat them bad, bad things will happen to you. I think so. And also you cannot really have an abortion, because like now it's like a really bad thing will happen to you. You take away like somebody's lives. So that is what like I think freak the pregnant table intercourse the most. Like for me, I never have to worry about it. No matter how hard I try, I cannot make her pregnant. But also because of that, they afraid to have sex. Because if you're pregnant, you cannot have an abortion, and you have to keep the baby for 18 years or even more. But I don't think that like religions is something that stop us from having sex,
Mm.
really.
I think religion in Western countries has a lot to answer for on that. But so enough about sex education in Vietnam. Let's move on to the final questions of the podcast. We ask these at the end of every episode. They change every season. So these are the questions for season 8. So if you could travel anywhere in Vietnam for a week, where would you go and why?
1 week, right?
Yeah, you have to stay there for a week.
I will go I think I'll choose Saigon.
Yeah.
Because like first of all, I haven't been there, and I know that it have like beautiful sightseeing,
Yeah.
and I love riding a motorbike up the mountain. So I think it has all of the elements that I like, and usually it's pretty cold. So the food, when it's cold, when you eat, is just better food, I think.
Yeah. So I've done it, and it is just, it's the phrase, like words cannot describe it, is made for this place. It's so stunningly beautiful. There's nothing I can say. I don't know the vocabulary to describe how unbelievable it is. That's how unbelievable it is. So yeah, you should absolutely go there. And you're right, like you don't have a cafe Suadao when you're there. You have a cafe Suanon because you got to have a hot coffee when you're up in the cold mountains. It's so
Mm.
good. I would definitely recommend that for sure. Now we got tourists coming back to Vietnam. Some of them are back already. I don't know if you've met any yet. I thought I saw 2 people today. I didn't recognize them. You feel like you recognize everyone in Vietnam because we've all been stuck here for 2 years. And I got my cum tam for lunch. And the reason I think there was a tourist is I've never seen anyone eat cum tam so awkwardly. This older white guy who's holding the plate with one hand and then like off the table and then eating it. It was just weird. I was looking at him and his wife and I was like, I'm pretty sure they're tourists. This is so exciting. But that's the weirdest way I've ever seen anyone eat cum tam. So I was like, he's no way he's like a local
Oh my
expat.
God.
But so what advice would you give to any tourists coming back to Vietnam?
Not too much advice. Just live your life. So long we survive a fucking pandemic. You just should live and enjoy every moment passing by. And I think Vietnam is a very enjoyable country.
For
Very
sure.
enjoyable.
It's so
Meet
exciting.
people, talk to them. Don't forget to smile. Yeah, and don't forget to have every moment of your life worth it. That's it.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, after these 2 years, that is a great advice. Now, what advice would you give to someone thinking about moving to Vietnam?
I don't know. I never really moved to any. I never think of I will move to another country. So I don't know what advice to give. But if I can give like an advice, it's Vietnamese people are very friendly, and we give you what we take. So if you smile to us, we'll smile to you. If you be nice to us, we'll be nice to you. And that's the point. Just be nice to people. Don't be an asshole. That's it.
Good advice for life in general, but also for moving to Vietnam. Don't be an asshole. That's definitely good. Now, this one it can be a contentious question. For you, what do you think is the difference between an expat and an immigrant?
So I think the biggest difference between expat and immigrant are the purpose. So an expat, the purpose is to come to a country and work and be there for a while until the next destination is shown in the map. The intentions of immigrant is that only choose a country to live there, to be there, and to find a job there and stay there. So immigrant, I guess, it is like the types of people that more likely become our people. And expat will always be expat. You leave.
Yeah.
Like it's a wife and a girlfriend,
Yeah. So if you're an expat, it's like being a girlfriend, and if it's an immigrant, it's like being a wife. That is a great way to put it. I like that. Now, this is my favorite question I've ever asked on this podcast. If Vietnam was a person, how would you describe them?
Vietnam was a person. I'm pretty sure it's a she.
Yeah, that's it. Everyone says, yeah.
She, I'm sure it's a she, and she's quite spicy, but she's also like super open-minded. She's like very outgoing, and she's probably going to be like a stoner that like when she needs to chill out, she put a joint in her mouth and she chills.
Awesome. Nearly everyone that's been on this season so far has said it's definitely Vietnam would be a she. So it's obviously because Vietnam is very matriarchal, right? Like the women rule the roost. Vietnamese women are so strong. They're so powerful. So I definitely can see that. And you're the second person to say Vietnam would be a spicy person as well. So yeah, awesome. As you start to conjure up this image in your head of what that person would look like if Vietnam was a country, it's awesome. Well, Phuong, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate your time. Can you please tell anyone listening more about Twist Cafe? We didn't even say the address. Where can they find you? Tell them more about your amazing cocktails. I need to come back in soon for another cocktail. Tell the people where to find it. Go.
All right. So Twist Cafe is at 88 Xuân Thủy 2. And the reason why you have to come there because it's fun, it's charismatic, just like me, and it has nice owner, nice staff, nice drink. And the drink that I recommend you try is vegan white Russian. It's great. It's vegan. So it's good for everybody, and it can also make you drunk.
So what is it? What's a vegan white Russian almond milk?
So usually like the white Russian, it's going to have cream in it, right? So we didn't put cream in it. We put coconut milk in it, and just pimp it up a little bit. And coconut milk actually goes really well with the Kahlua, with the coffee in the cocktail. So it's great. It's something you should order.
All right. Well, Phuong, I got something to do right now, but once I'm finished, I'm going to hopefully stop by Twist Cafe this afternoon and have that
Anytime with pleasure.
I'll hopefully see you soon. All right. Thank you so much, Phuong, and I will see you soon. Cheers.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.